You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
For the first time this offseason, recording with a whole bunch of snow on the ground and snow falling outside. So I guess it is officially the winter of our baseball-less discontent. As we welcome you into this week's episode, it is the latest edition of the Minor League Baseball Podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome in. Thanks for hanging out with us on this snowy or cold, or I don't know where you live. Maybe it's nice where you live. My name is Tyler Ron. Sam Dykstra and Benjamin Hill in New York City. We have a new backdrop for Sam Dykstra. He recently moved, but we did make sure to tell him that he had to bring along his aluminum foil to set behind him, which was always behind him at his last apartment. I'm very happy that it was accessible and you could have it nearby to give the people what they need.
Yeah, no free ads, but I don't go anywhere without my Reynolds wrap.
You know,
Let's just cut that for future ads, you know?
Yeah.
I just want that a clean version in there.
They sponsor
maybe some days.
tarp at Wrigley Field, right? Isn't that the one that has the big Reynolds wrap logo on it? So they're in the baseball space, you know, not a sponsor, could be.
Get in the podcast space too, Reynolds wrap. You already have a space in my background at anytime I'm home. But yeah, Speaking of it being winter, I am at my semi-new place. We've been here since late August, early September. But had to get the heating fixed, which is another surefire sign of it being early winter here across the Northeast or wherever it is you are in a cold place.
Ben Hill in the office in New York. Ben, what's going on?
Yeah, I'm not in the office. I'm not in my brand new palatial estate. I'm not shooing away the butler from the background of the shot as Sam is. But I'm in the office. I can't complain. Just another day in the office, another day covering minor league baseball, living the dream.
Well, with that, let's get rolling on this week's episode of the show. Before the show, as always, you can get in touch with us, podcast at milb.com, and it is time for our weekly edition of Ben's Biz Banter, presented by Circle K, the official convenience store of minor league baseball. And not a ton of developments, obviously, since we talked last week. This is the quietest part of the minor league baseball calendar. A lot of front offices just sort of between Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's and all that, things go fairly quiet. But we did have one somewhat sizable development out of the California League, where the affiliation shuffle has left the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes with a new look. They are new partners with a franchise that calls itself Los Angeles, might not be geographically located in Los Angeles, but Rancho has gone red, Ben.
That's right, the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes, as part of a larger affiliation shuffle in the California League, have changed their logo set from a blue color to a red color. And of course, there is a reason for that. For anyone who needs an update, we've gone over this many times on this podcast, but let's do it one more time. The Modesto Nuts are no longer, there's a new team in Modesto, and we'll get to that. Not a minor league team, whatever. One thing at a time. The Modesto Nuts are no longer an affiliated minor league baseball team. New in the California League is the Ontario Tower Buzzers, a Dodgers affiliate. The Dodgers affiliate in the Cal League used to be the Quakes, but they are now an Angels affiliate who used to be affiliated with the Inland Empire 66ers. The 66ers have taken on the Nuts Mariners affiliation. It's pretty complicated. But for the purposes of right now, right here, right now, the Quakes are an Angels affiliate. For the first time in their franchise history, they moved to Rancho Cucamonga in 1993. They were a Padres affiliate up through 99, and beginning in 2000, or maybe it was 2001, a Dodgers affiliate. That Dodgers affiliate is no longer. The Dodgers affiliation is Ontario. The Quakes are the California Angels, and they've gone red. So if you are familiar with the Quakes logos, it looks very much the same. You got the fault line running through the Quakes word mark, signifying, of course, an earthquake. It's the same basic look, but where there was once blue, there is all red. These logos were, I think, originally designed by Dan Simon, and he was involved with tweaking them. The new edition is an alternate logo with a lowercase q with a halo over it, and that is modeled after the California Angels logos of the 70s and 80s that had the A with a halo over it, and I think that looks pretty cool, the Q with the halo. But again, as part of a larger series of shifts in the Cal League, the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes have gone red, and they will debut as an Angels affiliate in 2026 in the new look Cal League.
I think it was that Q that really took off the most, that angelic Q, I guess is what we'll call it. I saw a few people sharing that. And, whenever you come out with a new look, a new identity, a new rebrand, this isn't even a new rebrand, but just a slight alteration, you hope something's going to hit. And the fact that they went so simplistic with that. But if you're an Angels fan, I think you're going to like that. If you're just a California baseball fan, you'll think back to the California Angels, and that'll evoke something. I mean, it's you don't have to do something big and bombastic. If you can get back to very basic roots, that can hit extremely well too. So kudos to them for that design specifically, and doing something that I think honors the new affiliation. It would have been easy to just be like, yeah, we're still the Quakes. Nothing has changed here. But no, you've got a new parent club. It's still a local parent club. It's one you want to celebrate. A slight color shift achieves that just as well as anything.
Yeah, and as I am wont to do, I went down a little rabbit hole here. I was just looking up the history of the Quakes franchise, and they date back to 1966 when they began play in a town name I know because of the Creedence Clearwater Revival song Lodi. They were the Lodi Crushers, and they played in Lodi under various names all the way through 1985. Then the franchise spent one season, and this is what I wanted to bring up, in 1986. Have you guys ever heard of this minor league team? One season only, the Ventura County Gulls.
No, not heard of that.
One season there, and they played at Ventura College, and that stadium, the college's baseball stadium, didn't have lights, so they were maybe the only team in the country at that time. This is 1986. I guess Wrigley was still not playing.
Yeah.
But they only played day games, and so they drew horribly as a result of only playing during the day, and only lasted 1 year as the Ventura County Gulls. They then became the San Bernardino Spirit from 87 to 92 before moving to the Quakes we know of today. But I've been doing this job so long, I always assume I've come across like every minor league team, at least in the last like 50 years. And I was like, I don't think I ever knew about the Ventura County Gulls. And they were a pretty good team, a Blue Jays affiliate. And they had something like 12 or 14 future major leaguers: Geronimo Baroa, Francisco Cabrera, Rob Ducey, Jose Mesa, David Wells. Only pitched 5 games for them, but they had a pretty formidable squad. Todd Stottlemyre, and so on and so forth. So they only played during the day. They had very poor crowds, but a lot of star power on that team for a Cal League team in 1986. So
yeah, it's funny that they went from Lodi to Ventura, because when you said Lodi reminds you of the Creedence song. Ventura reminds me of Ventura Highway by America. So let's find somebody to do a Rancho song here soon, if one doesn't already exist. Maybe one does, and if one does, email us at podcast@milb.com. We'll make a whole playlist out of this one franchise.
That's a noble undertaking. I'm on board.
I like it. New look for the Angels affiliate now in Rancho Cucamonga, which brings us to a tangentially connected story about a former minor league baseball affiliate of minor league baseball market that is now in a partner league that we announced a new team name for, and then the team announced an additional new team name after the first team name went down without local approval, I guess.
Yeah, so as part of this whole series of shifts in the Cal League, as mentioned, the Modesto Nuts are no longer part of the Cal League. Modesto is no longer an affiliated baseball, but a new Pioneer League team is playing in Modesto at John Thurman Stadium. And a couple weeks ago, we spoke a little bit about how this team was going to be called the Glow Riders. And that lasted, a week or so? And the team then was like, actually, no. This is a quote from their owner, Dave Heller, who also owns the Quad City River Bandits, a couple other teams. And after the Glow Riders were announced, we did a lot of listening and learned a lot about this community, its culture, and its people. Blah, 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 blah. We owed it to them to hit a home run with the new primary identity and with the Modesto Roadsters. The new team name, the Roadsters, we've hit a grand slam. So I guess they didn't like the feedback they got locally with the Glow Riders, which they note that they will still use in a kind of, I don't know if it'll be officially Copa de la Diversion, but they'll use it on select nights to, quote, celebrate California lowrider culture and highlight local Latino-owned businesses. So if you did like that Glow Riders identity, it still exists. But the Roadsters goes for more of a classic 1950s look, and that's inspired by Modesto's car culture as immortalized in the George Lucas feature film American Graffiti, and George Lucas grew up in the Modesto area. So now we got the Roadsters, and driving the Roadster, who has a pair of baseballs hanging from the roof of his car. It's a Fox, a San Joaquin Kit Fox named Cruiser, driving a classic 1960s era Roadster. So I think we can say now, unless they change it again, Modesto's new Pioneer League team is not the Glow Riders, it is the Roadsters.
So there we have it. Tune in next week for Modesto's next name. But no, it's a great logo. It's a good, I appreciate when teams have the ability to say, all right, maybe we didn't get this one 100% right. Let's go back to the drawing board, except for New Hampshire, which forever should have been the primaries, but was before its time. All right, Ben, we have a new spin on an alternate identity in the Midwest League in Beloit, where the Sky Carp have gone a different route with a very successful alt identity that they will now tweak and give us a different form of for 2026.
Yeah, there was the Beloit Sky Carp debuted their alternate identity, the Wisconsin Supper Clubbers, in 2023. In 2024, they tweaked the primary logo to be an anthropomorphic old-fashioned cocktail, representing a beloved drink at a Wisconsin supper club, which is kind of a I'm going to cough for a second. Hold on a second. I'm back. A supper club is a Wisconsin, Midwest, especially Wisconsin, type of restaurant called a supper club, known for the cocktails, a old school vintage atmosphere. Probably see some deer heads and fish mounted on the walls. Relish trays are a big deal as part of an appetizer platter, piano music, that kind of thing. Anyway, they had this old-fashioned cocktail last year as their primary identity for the Supper Clubbers alternate logo, alternate identity. And now it is a grasshopper, a dessert cocktail. And it is a bluish-greenish mint color. It's a feminine cocktail. It's swinging a bat, wearing a pearl necklace. And I've had old fashions before, but I can't say I've ever had a grasshopper. It's a, quote, famous Wisconsin ice cream cocktail made with, how do you say, creme de menthe? Is it cream de menthe or creme de menthe? And vanilla ice cream. So
sounds delicious. I think it's creme de menthe.
Creme de menthe, yeah. A Wisconsin ice cream cocktail. So the old fashioned is now out and the grasshopper is now in. And where the old fashioned color scheme was black and orange, some pops of a deeper red for the cherries, now we've got this mint greenish type color instead. And one of the logos is a mint leaf placed over the state of Wisconsin with a baseball in the lower right-hand corner to denote roughly Beloit's location within the state of Wisconsin. Beloit is, of course, very close to Illinois, borders Illinois, but very much a Wisconsin team. They got Wisconsin pride, and they celebrate the supper clubs. And I keep saying I need to go to a legit Wisconsin supper clubs one of these days. I didn't make it out there last time I was in the region, but one of these days, hope springs eternal.
I gotta say the new logo is great. The old logo, the old-fashioned logo, was fantastic too. And now I gotta look and see if there's anything that I need to snag from milb.com/Beloit before it's gone. Ben, all right, before we get out of here, you have a conversation from one of your many trips across the minor league landscape this week that we're going to hear that you just kind of came across and sort of had forgotten that you had, which is always fun getting into the off season, and like you get to go back and dig through so much of the archives from each season. But tell us what you got for us this week.
Yeah, here we are in early December, and I am still coming up with stuff from the season to write about and feature on this podcast. In a way, I wish this wasn't the case. I wish I was done with it at this point, but I got a lot, and I keep pumping it out. So if you don't subscribe to my newsletter, please do so, the Baseball Traveler newsletter, because we have an account of Ben Hill night with the Tri-City Dust Devils when they did stage a night in my honor. And that was a unique night for sure. We've got a write-up of my night at the Vista Stadium, the home of the Spokane Indians, one of my favorite ballparks I realized in all of minor league baseball. We've got a write-up coming momentarily, pretty much in conjunction with the dropping of this podcast episode, an account of the Charleston River Dogs toilet paper night. And after that, I'm almost done, but I still have a little more. I'll be done by the end of 2025. So tied in with still getting some of this material out there, I did find from my night with the Tri-City Dust Devils, yes, it was Ben Hill night, but it wasn't all about me. Before the game, I spoke to Dan Bilardello, who was the manager of the Tri-City Dust Devils in 2025, and he is a baseball lifer. I spoke to him not long after he had received he had notched his 900th minor league managerial win, but this is a guy whose own professional career dates back to 1978 in the Pioneer League, who went on to play 11 seasons in the major leagues, who hit his first home run off Tom Seaver, and who's just got an interesting perspective as a true baseball lifer, a guy who has literally seen it all in the game of baseball, although you can never truly see it all. What's the cliche? You might see something new anytime you go to a game. Regardless, Dan Bilardello was an interesting guy to talk to, and I apologize to him for doing this interview and then not doing anything with it until now. Maybe I'll get a corresponding article up as well, but anyway, here's Dan Bilardello, the 2025 manager of the Tri-City Dust Devils out there in Pasco, Washington. Well, let's start with a milestone. You won your 900th career managerial game as a minor league manager just, a week ago? Less than a week ago?
Yeah, 1 week ago today, Tuesday in Hillsboro. And, means a couple things to me. One, I'm old.
Yeah.
I've been able to stay in the game a long time. I'm thankful to all the teams that, gave me the opportunities to manage and be able to get to that milestone. And it's kind of nice, when you think back, all the years, as saying, because after the game we came into the clubhouse and players were there, and Daryl, our president of the club here, got a little something for me, and you get emotional when you get older. I always say I Dick Vermeil, because anybody that's old remembers Dick Vermeil used to seem like he cried at everything, and a hell of a coach. So it's kind of like tears for the years is what I say. But I'm thankful for all the players I had over all that time, all the staffs I've had, my bosses, just to give me the opportunity. So I'm very thankful. You get older, every day's precious. You don't think about it when you're 20 or 30, even 40 probably. You get older, and you almost want to stay off Facebook just so you don't see who in the heck passed away as a player and this and that. It's just weird. You just think of things so much weird. It just means a lot. My brother and sister were able to be there. They had planned to come out like a month earlier, so it was never planned. But it was a neat experience. And then earlier we had KJ, our AAA manager, got to 900. So we had 2 guys in our system to get to 900, and then I know it's a long-winded answer, but I think of John Shoemaker, who's been with the Dodgers for close to 50 years. I think he's got over close to 1,900 wins. And the old Dodger, Stan Wozniak, when I was playing back then, I think he has 2,800. So I'm not sure I'm going to get there, but I'm very thankful that I was able to do this and get it done.
Yeah, 900 is a nice round number. I mean, I guess even nicer and rounder is 1,000.
Yeah.
You set that as a goal? Is it more the one day at a time cliche?
I think this game is a one day at a time cliche. You don't get you just can't. I've learned over all these years playing and managing and coaching, you can't get too high, you can't get too low. I've heard that from the very beginning as a player from the staffs. And so I'm, I mean, it would take, really to finish out the year unbelievable here. And then next year have a team, because it's tough to win 80 games in a season. And that means you'd have to win 19 or so more here. So not thinking about it. I'm hoping it's able to happen. Hopefully somebody and the Angels, I thank them very much. Hopefully they'll keep me around for a few more. And hopefully maybe I can get to 1,000.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you've been managing for over 2 decades now. What, 2002, Great Falls Dodgers is where it all began.
Yeah.
Have your resume here in front of me. South Georgia Waves, Columbus Catfish, Batavia Muck Dogs. Teams that aren't around anymore in environments that aren't really around anymore. How would you say the minor leagues have changed? In these 23 years, it's pretty profound.
Well, obviously, since probably 2000, just after that, when the analytics became involved, it's changed the game. I think the players have changed. I'm not saying, we didn't walk uphill both ways when we were playing, but, the players, it's a different generation. I think you have to handle them just a little bit different. Kind of back then when we were playing, you took it. I mean, you got, I've had coaches, managers get in your face. Today, you've got to be a little more delicate with players. And really, I think that's kind of the easy part, to be honest. As long as you get to know the players, you know how to handle them. And I think that's the benefit of me being an ex-catcher. They always talk about catchers being good managers, but I think it's just handling, because on a pitching staff, you have so many different personalities. You can yell, you have to pat on the back, those type of things. Well, managing's kind of the same thing. And you just got to know how to handle each player and what they can take, and if you can do that. And then the second thing, I got wise wisdom from a guy that I really respect and I learned a lot from, was Mark Dijon with the Cardinals. And he said, you can be upset, but don't stay mad. You got to just keep talking to those players, even the minute after something happens. And I found that to be so true, because the players, I think they want discipline, but how you do it and how you deliver it is really important. And then after you deliver it, what do you do right after that? And I think I've learned a lot. I wasn't good at it early on in my coaching career, but over the years I've learned to just have fun with it. The players will accept some discipline, and they'll go, the old saying, they'll run through a wall for you, and they will. And I have a lot of fun with the players. I'm young at heart. I'm probably more of a kid inside, even though my body's telling me I'm a lot older. I'm a little bit sore, but my mind and my heart, it's all there, and it's every day is a fun day for me when I come to the ballpark. I enjoy the heck out of it.
Yeah, I guess more than most people your age? You're up to date more on cultural references and the music and that kind of thing. Does it keep you young in that way?
I don't know, music-wise. I'm kind of old school rock and roll, some country. Not really. I just think the youth allows me to have fun. I've always been, even a player, when I played, I always had fun, but when it was time to get down to business, it was, let's get serious. And when that first pitch is met, here we go. I'm managing, I'm trying to win every game. The kids know it. I know people talk about, winning's not that important or whatever. It certainly is, because these kids, hopefully they all advance, and once they get to the big leagues, they got to know how to win, because up there, that's number one. You have to win, you have to perform. So there's pressure throughout in this game, and if we can apply it somewhat as a coach in the sense of this is what is expected, then when they get to the next level, they're not overwhelmed by anything. So that it's fun to be around these guys. It really is. They probably think I'm crazy sometimes, but we laugh a lot, and then there's a lot of seriousness, and they know, I believe they know that I care, and how you express that, and that you can't be fake. You can't be fake. The players will read right through it. We used to read right through it when I played. So you got to be yourself. You got to be real, and if you can, they'll accept anything. And I think that's all part of me staying young.
Yeah, talking about when you played, drafted in 1978, and it all started with the 1978 Lethbridge Dodgers, a long-defunct minor league organization. What do you think about when you think back to being a Lethbridge Dodger? Is that in Canada?
Yeah, it's in Canada, and my first manager was Jim Lefevre.
Oh, yeah.
And I can remember it was probably the first week or so we're working out, and I was running in the outfield, and I had my hat on backwards, and he called me in his office after. He gave me every word in the book of not to do it, the respect to the hat, respect to the Dodgers, and what a learning experience I had. I mean, he aired me out good. And that's probably the difference a little bit now. But back then, I didn't take it as personal. You can't. But I learned from it, and I probably thank him for that. I haven't seen him since, but I would thank him for that. But that's the one memory I have. Jim was tough, and he didn't pull any punches, and he was up front. And I said, man, and that's how I kind of manage and coach. I played with a lot of guys. Jim Leland, who was phenomenal. Terry Collins, Buck Rogers, Russ Nixon in Cincinnati. These are all people that were up front, and I'm sorry to leave anybody out, but those guys were up front. They didn't BS you, and that's kind of what I try to do. Not try, that's what I do. I don't want to lie to my players. I want to tell them the truth. My door's always open. They know that, and I always tell them, if you come in, you're going to hear the truth. If you don't want to hear the truth, don't come in and talk to me. So those are things I live by as a manager and as a coach, and I think the players appreciate it.
Yeah, well, we could talk for hours, theoretically, about all the memories from your playing days, but I know time is short, so I just want to ask you one more thing. You get to the major leagues, your first home run. I know you've told this story a lot of times. Yeah. First major league home run's got to be so special in any context, but you hit it off of Tom Seaver. What are your memories of that?
Well, at the time, it was my first year being married, going into my second year being married at the time. And
this is 1983?
Yeah, 83, and hit the home run. Probably the thing that it was weird. I didn't know how to run the bases. It felt weird. I didn't want to show them up, and I don't know. I didn't get into really a good home run trot till after I hit second base. And I think the funny part of this story is the next day, I had the ball. My wife went up to the stands and got it from whoever, and I had the ball, and there right before BP, or might have been during, I don't know. He was out in left field, so and our dugout was on the first base side. I started walking out to see him in left field, no one else is out there. They're out there, but I'm the only. I go walking out, and he says a couple couple choice words to me, like, what the heck are you blank doing here, and this and that. And, I was like, could Tom, Mr. Seaver, could you please, and he was more than welcome. So it was, I don't know what the hell I was doing, just walking out in the middle of the field, but I was like, I got to get his autograph on this ball. So I have it back at home, and it was a special moment. I don't have a ton of special moments in the big leagues. I didn't have a great career. I had a long career. I'm so blessed to be able to play as long as I have, and then be in this game. I think this is my 40th year, so I'm so thankful for all the time and all the people that have hired me and given me a chance to do what I really love, and hopefully I can keep doing it for a little while longer.
Yeah, they use the term baseball lifer, and you embody that.
Yeah, I am a lifer for sure. I don't know what the heck I'd be doing if I wasn't doing this. So I'm glad I'm able to do this every day, and my health's good, and I feel great. And I think these guys, and the game just keeps you young. If it doesn't, something's wrong with you. Then get out. So I enjoy it.
Cool. Well, Dan, thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it.
You got it. I appreciate it too. Thank you.
LinkedIn is pretty great at a lot of things, like helping you tap into the latest trends and insights in your field. We cannot stop your coworker from tapping her pencil. LinkedIn can help you find new jobs that align with your career goals. We cannot help you find the source of that weird smell in the office fridge. Ew. And while we can't stop your coworkers from bringing their hobbies into the office, LinkedIn can help you bring your career to the next level. LinkedIn is the network that works for you.
Well, good stuff from Ben, as always. And with that, we pivot to at least as close to on-field stuff as we kind of get right now. And that is the baseball winter meetings, which will get rolling next week in Orlando, Florida. And always one of the biggest times of the year, one of the biggest events on the baseball calendar, of course, what it means as far as player movement and transactions and all the rest. But so much more goes on at the winter meetings. And one of those things, Sam Dykstra, is the Rule 5 draft, which always presents some interesting stuff for players who might be moving along or franchises who add intriguing pieces. Give us some headlines or some things that you've got an eye on for this 2025 Rule 5 draft.
Yeah, so this year's Rule 5 draft will take place next Wednesday on December 10th. And for folks who don't know what the Rule 5 draft is, I'm sure many of you do, but just for a quick refresher, if you were signed at 18 years or younger and you've been in pro ball for 5 years or more, then you are eligible for the Rule 5 draft. We had the 40-man protection deadline back in November. If you weren't protected by that date, you are now eligible to be taken in the Rule 5 draft. If you signed at 19 or older and have been in pro ball for 4 seasons or more, then you are eligible for the Rule 5 draft. Basically, what this is meant to do is get guys who don't have clear lanes to major league opportunities, those opportunities right out. Now, I don't want to say right out the gate, but like full-fledged major league opportunities, and offers major league clubs an opportunity to fill some holes with very cheap pieces, right? These are guys who are going to be, by definition, rookies immediately by showing up. If you are a Rule 5 selection, you have to stick on the major league roster for the duration of the following season, or else be offered back to your original team. So there are some highs you can get out of this, right? Like people love to point out Roberto Clemente was a Rule 5 pick. Johan Santana was a Rule 5 pick. Most of the time, it's basically you bring a guy in to be a spring training tryout and it doesn't work and they get offered back. At least the guy got a shot. At least the team brought him in. But this, as much coverage as this gets, and I'm happy to participate and I'm happy to educate people, it's not a huge thing for like, this is where champions are made. But that being said, every team that makes a pick next Wednesday is going to think, I am taking this year's version of Shane Smith or Garrett Whitlock or Anthony Santander, who was like maybe the best Rule 5 pick of the last 10, 15 years. There are some really good ones to hit on out there. And you have to hope your scouting department, your analytics department, everybody has come together and found that guy for you. In most cases, it's not going to work, but when it does, it can be really, really beneficial to your organization. So some names to just throw out there real quick that I kind of find interesting. Sticking with the Blue Jays, Yohendrick Pinango. He had a 169 WRC plus from 47 games in Double-A. Start out last year, it was his age 23 season. Not so good at AAA afterwards, 7 homers and 96 WRC plus in 84 games. But he hit the ball incredibly hard. He maxed out at 115.4 miles per hour with his exit velocity. He had a heart rate of 47.8%, made a lot of contact in zone. He's a lefty hitter. He's probably limited to left field. But everything under the hood is exceptional. And you would think that's going to lead to not necessarily a breakout, because we, as an industry, have recognized him as a good prospect at this point, but like a furthering of his skills and results in 2026. And now if you're a team like just looking for left-handed help off the bench or a fourth outfield type, Penango can be that guy for you, and you can be the one to benefit for what it looks like could be coming down the road for him. So he's one I'm going to keep my eye on. A lot of these guys are going to be pitchers, because that's typically right. Like that's where you're going to get some churn either at the bottom of your rotation or the back end of your bullpen. RJ Pettit of the Detroit Tigers is 6'8", listed at 300 pounds. But he's not just a big guy. He's got pretty good extension. But he's got a slider that's 83 to 85 miles an hour, breaks really late, can use it against batters from both sides. So he's not just somebody who's going to dominate righties and struggle against lefties. I think you could plug him in and use him against batters from both sides pretty well. He's also got a mid-90s fastball and upper 80s changeup. But he had a 2.44 ERA last year with 79 strikeouts and 66 in the third innings. Everything is kind of there for him results-wise, stuff-wise. Is he going to be a closer? No. But like, and is he left-handed? That it would be more beneficial. The Tigers probably would have protected him, honestly, if he was left-handed. But I think there's a lot of really nice things to like there for him. Let's see who else here on the list. Blake Burkhalter of the Atlanta Braves. The Braves selected nobody to their 40-man roster ahead of the Rule 5 protection deadline. That kind of surprised me. Burkhalter moved to the bullpen at AAA. He was okay as a AA starter. Didn't miss as many bats in the AAA bullpen, 23 strikeouts in 31 innings. But his four-seam fastball, 92 to 95 miles an hour, around 18 inches of induced vertical break at AAA, and it's got some cut right action to it. So it's something you would expect to be going up an arm side, but actually is staying a little truer, and that can really befuddle hitters. I think a major league pitching staff would love to get their hands on a fastball like that. And he's got a truer cutter in the upper 80s, a low 80s curveball, and a mid 80s changeup. So he's got a good pitch mix to deal with. I think it's the fastball that's really going to make him interesting for somebody who's looking for, first some bullpen help, but could potentially get some rotation help there too, because like I said, he does have some experience pitching out of both the rotation and the bullpen. Tyler Stewart is that guy who I think could be a stash candidate. We were talking about RJ Pettit being 6'8". Tyler Stewart is 6'9". He underwent Tommy John surgery in the second half of this season. Dealt with a lot of elbow issues, only appeared in 10 games in the national system, actually acquired from the Mets in July 2024 for Jesse Winker. He's got an 82 to 85 mile an hour slider that's got really good two-plane break. He lies on it basically as one would a fastball. It's almost like his primary pitch at times. But he's got a sinker, a changeup, and a cutter. He's somebody you rehab back at your spring training facility all next season and see what you have for 2027. I think he could be really good as a reliever, but he's got enough control to work as a starter. And again, this is just an opportunity to bring him in real cheap. I'm a little surprised the Nationals, who are going through a rebuild right now, didn't protect him. But I think that's because they're banking on other teams being like, this is just going to be too long of a rehab process. We don't want to put in so much time to this guy who could end up being somewhere else in a year and a half. So keep an eye on Tyler Stewart. We'll see if anybody ends up taking him, but he would definitely be a stash candidate. And then Jose Rodriguez with the Los Angeles Dodgers. If you ever get a chance to see him pitch, it's fascinating. It's like he's got his back turned to the plate, so you can't see where the ball is. And then it's like this whipping motion that every time he does it, you think it's going to be a fastball, yet he has one of the best changeups in this year's Rule 5 draft, because it's just so deceptive. You think it's going to come in, 97, 98, ends up coming in 88, 89, which isn't an incredible changeup velocity. That's a little hard, but it just fools hitters consistently. He's got a really high whiff rate on that pitch. He's going to have some control issues. And with that delivery, I don't think he always knows where the ball is going to go. It's all deception. But I would love to see teams give him a chance in this process. Obviously, the Dodgers have a stacked 40-man as it is. They just couldn't find a place for him. I just want to see fans' reaction to watching Jose Rodriguez pitch. So that would certainly be a fun one. Those are just some names. We wrote up this entire story, myself and Jesse Borick the other day with help from Jim Callis and Jonathan Mayo. One Rule 5 candidate from each team. Obviously, not every player who's going to be picked is on that list, but at least it's a good starter set to get you ready for next Wednesday in the Rule 5 draft.
Okay, Sam, beyond just the Rule 5 draft, obviously we see a lot of players make movements during the winter meetings. We're already seeing some making movements elsewhere. And that leads us to our next topic of conversation, which really has a lot to do with the reigning American League champions. The Toronto Blue Jays have started to make some moves in this 2025-26 offseason. For fans of the Jays, obviously you're going to be really excited about, the fact that your team has gone out and signed Dylan Cease, the deal to bring in Cody Ponce, who is a former Brewers prospect, a guy who we were all really, really high on, made his major league debut, moved over to Japan and Korea, most recently pitched for the Hanwha Eagles and was the KBO's MVP. Now he's a member of the Blue Jays. We have talked so much in recent seasons about how good the Jays have gotten at developing young pitching talent. Now they're bringing in established guys. What does this mean in the landscape of Blue Jays prospects, guys who are coming up? Trey Savage, obviously, making his name known throughout the postseason and into the World Series, but still a very young guy. Give us the lowdown on what this looks like for the Jays.
Yeah, I mean, this is fascinating stuff. The fact that they are so active now on the free agent list. I think they've always wanted to be active, right? Like going back to even last year around this time, we were talking about them being finalists for Roki Sasaki, and there have been those stories that was very much a storyline going into last year's World Series, right? Of Shohei Ohtani showing up to the Blue Jays facility, coming out with a bag of Blue Jays stuff, and not ending up signing with the team.
And then he kept it all.
Then he kept it all.
He kept it all.
Yeah.
He had the hat in his
never
garage,
know.
he said, this year. They even gave Decoy a jersey. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I know John Schneider was hamming it up about that and saying anytime he wants to return our hat, he's more than welcome to do so. And I totally understand that. But speaking with some people from the Blue Jays over the last few years, they've consistently said, we would like to win one of these. We're always right there. We have the money to spend. We're willing to spend it. And we just keep coming up short. And I think last year's postseason run really knocked down that door. And I the willingness to spend the money is a big deal too. Giving Dylan Cease 7 years, $210 million. That's a lot of money to sign Dylan Cease. I know a lot of teams weren't going to be willing to go to that. They did. And that's credit to them. They went out and got their guy. But I think a lot of players are like watching that playoff run and just being like, man, that's a fun atmosphere. Man, I would have an entire country at my back. Man, that looked like a fun clubhouse to be in. Those guys really celebrated each other, really loved playing for each other. I want to be there. I want to be there for that. And I think that's helping their case, like success begets success in this way. But it's fascinating that they're being so aggressive now in the rotation department. Cause like you said, Tyler, especially this year, I think this was a problem last year, but this year they completely turned around their pitching. I don't want to say pitching department, but their pitching success at the minor league level. Justin Laird, they brought him in as director of pitching for the minor leagues. 2024, the story was these guys can't stay healthy. 2025 was everybody's succeeding. Everybody's taking it to the next level as long as they are staying healthy. Ricky Tiedemann aside and Brandon Barriera, some of the more injured guys. But like Johnny King took a step forward. Gage Staniford took a step forward. Kendry Rojas took a step forward and then was traded to the Twins. So many up arrows in that organization. And now they're supplementing that with guys at the major league level. And if you look at some of the, their signings, a lot of these guys, and I don't want to say a lot of these guys, but some of these guys aren't going to be around. Like Kevin Gossman is only signed through 2026. I think Jose Barrios has an option for 2027. They're going to need additional replacements. But really good teams don't just have 5 starters. It's not like, oh, hey, Gage Staniford's knocking on the door too. Let's make sure to save some room for him. No. Gage Staniford should be your number 8 pitcher, your number 8 starting pitcher. And like injuries are going to happen, down performance is going to happen. deepen that rotation as best you can. So the fact that they are doing that, the fact that they are willing to spend the money, the fact that they are finding the pitchers to, build around is wonderful if you're a Toronto fan. Because you saw Trey Savage, he's going to be cheap for a while unless they negotiate an extension with him. I haven't heard anything about that. Maybe that's going on behind the scenes. But like when you know you have somebody that young is going to be in your rotation for a long time, build around him, give him those other pieces, and watch it go from here. We'll see what they do next. Obviously, Bo Bichette still out there as a free agent. Are they going to go after him, try to bring him back, tie him back up with Vladdy for a long time? We'll see. But exciting things are happening north of the border, that's for sure.
So the winter meetings will get rolling coming up this weekend into next week in Orlando, Florida, and I'm going to be there. Anybody else is going down to the winter meetings, let me know. We'll hang out. We'll go talk baseball. We'll do something fun. And with that, we have another conversation for this week's episode of the show before the show. Sam, tee it up for us.
Yeah, this one is going back a few years when Kelsey Hennigan and I traveled from Daytona Beach, Florida to Birmingham, Alabama for the Rickwood Field game at the time between the Birmingham Barons and Montgomery Biscuits. But we were trying to tell the story of baseball in the South, and particularly Rickwood Field having a history in the Negro Leagues, trying to touch on some Negro League locations and what the Negro League story is in certain parts of the South, particularly minor league towns. So we made a stop in Jacksonville, Florida. And Jacksonville has an old Negro League stadium. A lot of barnstormers came through there. So we wanted to see that. But also we wanted to touch base with Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp, who have done a lot over the years to honor Jacksonville's baseball history, and particularly its history with black baseball. And one person we talked to while we swung through there was Harold Craw, who is the executive vice president and general manager. Well, Harold Craw is back in the news this week because he was named the senior vice president of community engagement and social responsibility for the Tampa Bay Rays. Obviously making a step up. Jacksonville is not a Tampa Bay Rays affiliate, but they do have a connection now because Ken Babby, the owner of the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp, is also one of the co-owners, partial owners of the Tampa Bay Rays under their new ownership structure. So Ken Babby having familiarity with Harold Craw, bring him over to this new role in Tampa Bay and St. Petersburg, at least for now. But I think that's fantastic, first of all, for Harold getting a bump up to the bigs like that. That's huge. But also I think it's a good sign that major league teams and major league organizations are looking to the minor leagues, not just for player talent, obviously, but for organizational talent and front office talent. And Harold Craw being so involved in exactly what it says here, community engagement, social responsibility, trying to tell the story of what your area is like and bringing that to the ballpark every day. I think Rays fans are really going to benefit from that in his new role there in St. Pete. But since we talked to him, I wanted to also bring you guys that interview. I think we had it on the show before, but here's just a small snippet of what the Rays are getting with Harold Craw. Congrats to him. Congrats to the Rays. And, hopefully we get to hear some of the stories he's going to tell with the Rays here right around the corner. But here's an interview with Harold Craw from Jacksonville from the archives.
Last night, I know you had your Negro League celebration. What was that like, and how long have you been doing that?
Yeah, so we started it here in 2017, was our first year, and last night was fantastic. It's one of, I think that was the second time that we've actually gotten through the night and haven't been affected by good old Mother Nature. So in both of those times, we had crowds, 7,000 plus. It was just a fantastic night, a great opportunity to give some information on the history of baseball, just in general, as it pertains to the Negro Leagues, and then to highlight Jacksonville in a couple ways kind of throughout the night. So that was awesome. And even better, or topping on the cake, was the fact that the Indianapolis Indians were in town and of course played as the Indianapolis Clowns.
How do you feel like the community embraces the educational aspect of that when you have a Red Caps night?
Yeah, I think it's a big deal. I don't know that, or maybe I took for granted how cool it would be, or how much people would think about this is something that is the history of Jacksonville and that we should recognize it. And I think I noticed it even more the first year we played. Obviously, it was a big deal. It was fantastic. It went well. But I believe the questions about, hey, when are you guys going to wear those jerseys again? Hey, tell me about this. And then our opportunity to continuously grow that year over year, not just during our baseball season, but we actually have another pretty big event that happens in February here that we titled the High School Heritage Classic of Jacksonville. It's a pretty big deal for us. There's 2 traditionally African-American high schools that have some baseball players that folks might know probably more in other sports. They have of all sports, but one of the guys that I know from having worked in minor league baseball is Vince Coleman. So he played for Raines High School. So it's William Raines High School and Jean Ribault High School. And they play against each other normally here on our field. And so the 2 high school teams will play both in Red Caps uniforms, home and away uniforms. And then we give away a trophy to the winner of the game known as the A. Philip Randolph Cup. So A. Philip Randolph was a huge civil rights guy that really fought a lot and did some pretty impressive things as well. And so it's been a great couple years. I think for me, the hook, line, and sinker for the game was the opportunity to have it play as almost like an education day, if you think about minor league baseball. And so we bring kids, 3rd, 4th, 5th graders out, and we pack the stadium. And then we are able to educate them about the history of the Negro Leagues. And then for some of the young men that might continue to play baseball or start playing baseball because they came to the game, an opportunity if they go to Raines or Ribault to potentially play on the field at some point as they're growing up. So that's a pretty big deal for us, and it's been exciting to watch the game grow.
Is there anything you've learned from your time doing these Red Caps games?
Yeah, I mean, I think just engaging with guys that have played in the Negro Leagues, it's just how humble they, are, and for those that have passed, they were, about their experience. Knowing that it was difficult, knowing that it was hard, I believe that they loved the game so much that they would just do, whatever it took to be successful. I think that's probably the thing that I've tried to take through my career, is to try to be humble and appreciative of the opportunities that you're given as well. And so, but from the baseball side and the history side, in different cities, you get to hear pretty cool stories from guys that played or guys that had that experience. A gentleman I know, I have to tell this story. His name's Harold Hare. He told a story about being young and going and watching games at Durkeeville, pre-integration, and said that they would go, him and his friends when they were young, teenagers, preteens, they would go climb in the trees that hang over the field and they would watch the games. And inevitably, at some point during the game, someone would see them from the stands, let the local authorities know, and they would have to jump down out of the trees and run back in to the housing developments there as well. But that just speaks directly to the love of the game and how much and how bad you want to be able to see that game. Luckily for him, Buster had an opportunity to play in the Negro Leagues a little bit professionally in Canada before he had an injury and had to come home.
Final segment of this week's episode of the Show Before the Show podcast. And before we get out of here, it is time for this now holiday edition of Name That Dude. Now, granted, this dude this week, of which I am the knower, and Ben Hill and Sam Dykstra are the guessers, he is not holiday themed. So I just want to
I was going to say Matt Holiday.
Okay.
No, I really should have gone with it, but yeah, like, JT Snow. Damn it, JT Snow would have been so good.
Call back. JT Snow, the manager of the aforementioned Modesto Roadsters in their inaugural season.
How random. And the guy who saved Dusty Baker's kid during the 2002 World Series.
That guy truly does it all.
I know.
Darren Baker, who is now a legit minor leaguer.
Yeah, it was legit.
He's not
prospect.
just Dusty Baker's
No,
kid
he's not anymore. He's like an actual, like, oh, that guy's really good at baseball. But he still forever will just be that cute little kid being swept out of the path of a slide by JT Snow. He was so little. He was like 2 when he was doing that. Anyway, it's not JT Snow. It's not Aaron Baker. But the fella that we will discuss on this week's episode of Name That Dude is a gentleman who was drafted by the Montreal Expos in the first round, 28th overall, the 1984 MLB first-year player draft out of Rice University in Houston, Texas. He attended James Madison High School in San Antonio, Texas, but he was born in Fort Polk, Louisiana. A whole lot of, like early founding father names in among those things. He made his professional debut after being drafted in the first round in 1984. Made his professional debut in 1984 at the Florida State League Class A level with the West Palm Beach Expos in West Palm Beach, Florida. He was back there in 1985. 1986, he made the climb to Double A, where Vermont had a team in the Eastern League, the Vermont Reds. He was in the Cincinnati Reds organization. 1987, made the climb to AAA. He was with Nashville, the Nashville Sounds, in 87 and 88, and he made his major league debut in 1988. And that is, until 1998, the last time that we saw him in minor league baseball. He did not make another appearance in 1998 or in the minor leagues until 1998. So he was with Cincinnati 88 through 92. Then he went to Seattle. He was with the Mariners in 93 and in 95. He did not pitch at all in 1994, the strike year. He was pitch. He's a pitcher. He was hurt in 94, didn't play at all in 94. 95, he was with the Phillies briefly. And then with the Mariners, he made 55 combined appearances, 25 with the Phillies and 30 with the Mariners. He was back with the Mariners 96 and 97. And 98, he was with the Orioles and he was in Atlanta. Then he was with the Devil Rays in 1999, back with the Cincinnati Reds in 2000, and with the Seattle Mariners in 2001. He is primarily known as a reliever and is like a guy whose name you will remember. He had one All-Star appearance, just like a steady, he was in the bullpen for that Mariners team that won 116 games in 2001. But
I think I got it. I got it. Was it Norm Charlton?
It was Norm Charlton. Norm Charlton, a lefty specialist for that 01 Mariners team that won 116 games, made 44 appearances out of the bullpen that year, an ERA of 3.02 in his final professional season. He struck out 48 and 47 and 2/3, only walked 11, a whip of 0.986. Pretty good way to go out, honestly, at 38 years old. Norm Charlton, yeah.
Yeah, part of the Nasty Boys bullpen with the Reds there in the late 80s with Rob Dibble and Randy Myers. They were the Nasty Boys. It'd be so cool to do anything professionally where you were one of the Nasty Boys.
Yeah, that
we
is
should
true.
start calling ourselves the Nasty Boys.
The Nasty
Well,
Boys.
yeah, we could just become the Nasty Boys if you really wanted to, Ben.
We could
It would
pitch ourselves-
require some personality changes, I think, on all of our behalves, but we could
pitch
get
ourselves to the manosphere. We could just start yelling about, the evils of proven science and things. Norm Charlton was given the nickname the Sheriff by Dave Niehaus, legendary Mariners broadcaster. Fantastic nickname. He was on that 95 team, the first Mariners team to reach the playoffs. He was the closer for that team. And then in 01, was part of that bullpen that had like Kaz Sasaki, Arthur Rhodes, Jeff Nell, that 116 game winning Mariners team. And Norm Charlton. Good pull, Ben. Nice work.
What led you to Norm Charlton for both of you? Like, Tyler, why pick him? Because we were trying to think of a dude, and you were like, "Let me look around my room."
Yeah, no, there wasn't anything. There wasn't anything that I spotted. I was just like, it was a fun team. Let's go back to that '95 Mariners team and pick somebody random from that. And Norm Charlton stood out on that group. He had the second highest WAR of any reliever on that team that year. Randy Johnson's WAR in '95 was 8.6. 1.6. The next highest WAR for a Mariners pitcher that year was Jeff Nelson at 2.9. And among their position players, Edgar Martinez was highest at 7.1. So it kind of shows you what Randy Johnson did that year. But yeah, Norm Charlton stuck out as like that guy was a key cog for some good teams and went off into the sunset on a really good season in his final year.
Yeah. And
Ben, what about you? Like, what led you to Norm Charlton when you were like, oh, I think I've got it? Because you got it first guess.
yeah, well,
Yeah, it was pretty impressive.
even though he did not play long with the Phillies, that era of the Phillies, basically between like 86 and the early 2000s, like I have pretty good recall. And so once you said reliever, I was trying to think of like someone who pitched for the other teams you mentioned, as well as like had a stint with the Phillies I might remember. And Norm Charlton came up because, well, yeah, I remember the Nasty Boys when I was a kid. And then I have one specific memory during his, just partial 95 season with the Phillies. I remember watching a game at home, in our den, and seeing Norm Charlton terrifyingly just get slammed in the head with a vicious line drive comebacker. And it made an impression on me because I've been, been watching baseball. I was still a kid, but I've been watching baseball for quite a while then. And I couldn't really recall just seeing such a direct hit and such a scary moment. And look, I mean, he went to the Mariners. He was part of that team. Like, it doesn't seem like it had any long-term effects, but I remember one random night in 1995, it looked horrible. And that's my lone memory of Norm Charlton being a member of the Phillies. But it was enough to, make an impression on me all these years later, where that was a key piece of the puzzle in me getting that.
Yeah. That is, I still have like memories of the gruesome baseball injuries that have stuck in my head forever. But yeah, it's, and obviously very good to see, Norm Charlton recover from an elbow injury the year prior and have such a solid career. And he is our dude on this week's episode of Name That Dude. If you have a dude that you would like to suggest, you can email us podcast@milb.com, but you can't just tell us who the dude is because we all get the emails from podcast@milb.com. So we'll email you back. The first person to email you back gets your dude suggestion. How about that? And that'll do it for this week's episode of the show before the show. Again, you can get in touch with us anytime. Thanks for hanging out with us and tuning in. And for Sam Dykstra and Benjamin Hill, I'm Tyler Mom. We'll catch you next week.